Hey, what's going on everybody? So right now we're going to take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S6 versus the iPhone 6s and how they pretty much compare in 2018. Now starting off, this is an obvious one. The iPhone 6s is still supported with software where the Galaxy S6 is not currently supported at all in any way by Samsung. And I made a whole separate video talking about it. I cried about it and everything. And in my opinion, I think the Galaxy S6 could have handled Android 8.0, but for whatever reason Samsung didn't do it, even though they kind of said they were going to. But you know what, at this point I stopped crying about it and it is what it is. And now switching to the bodies, personally I always liked the glass back on the Samsung Galaxy S6, but I feel like the iPhone 6s is more my style. It feels more premium to me for some reason, and I don't really have to worry about the cracking of the back on the 6s, whereas on the Galaxy S6 I'd always be paranoid about me dropping the phone and cracking the back of the phone. And switching to the front, the screens are completely different on these two. The Galaxy S6 has a 5.1 inch screen, where the iPhone 6s has a 4.7 inch screen, and you do kind of notice that the S6 is overall bigger and has a bigger screen, but it's really not too uncomfortable. And in terms of the screens themselves, the Galaxy S6 has a much better screen than the iPhone 6s. The iPhone 6s's screen isn't horrible, but when you're comparing an IPS screen to an OLED screen, especially one at a lower resolution, I always find myself picking the OLED screens even past all the burn-in and all that stuff. There's really no competition here. The Galaxy S6 has a much better screen than the iPhone 6s. And even though the iPhone 6s is still supported software-wise, I still think Android 7.0 is more stable than iOS 11. So maybe the Galaxy S6 in terms of usability is better, but it's kind of hard to say because you're comparing an older version of an operating system to a whole other operating system that's updated. And even though on paper the Galaxy S6 is a much faster phone, I think they're both kind of in the same boat. And in some cases, I would say maybe the iPhone 6s is faster, but the Galaxy S6 just seems more stable overall. I don't see that many, apps crashing or things like that. Whereas on the iPhone 6s, that's very, very prominent for iOS 11. And it's not just a phone problem, it is just an operating system problem. But the biggest thing with the Galaxy S6 that I hate is TouchWiz. I've never been a fan of it. I love stock Android, but for some reason, Samsung still has to pollute Android by putting on their own custom skin on it. But the great thing about the Galaxy S6 is that it is rootable and you can throw a custom ROM on it, which is something I've always done to almost every single Android that I've had as a daily driver. And if you're out of warranty, like this phone probably is if you bought it, flashing a ROM on it will probably only make you enjoy the phone even more. Now there's something that these phones actually do have in common, and they're actually both cons of having both of these. There's no expandable storage and there's no removable battery, and battery life on both isn't that great either. So it kind of sucks that you can't remove the battery, because the Galaxy S6 was the first Samsung Galaxy phone flagship that removed the removable battery. That's kind of like a play on words there. But if I had to choose which one between the two had worse battery life, I'd probably say the Galaxy S6 has worse battery life than the iPhone 6s. And it's mostly because the Galaxy S6 is a more powerful phone. It has a bigger and higher resolution screen in it as well. So you kind of have to put both things into consideration when you consider the battery life. And now switching to the cameras, it's really hard to determine which camera is better. I mean, I can do a side-by-side comparison and everything, but between my usage when I had my Galaxy S6 and when I'm comparing it to the 6s, I really don't find any key differences between the two. The Galaxy S6 has a 16 megapixel camera, the iPhone 6s has a 12 megapixel camera, and if you're just looking at it in terms of megapixel count, the Galaxy S6 has more megapixels. But Apple does such a good job with the cameras on their iPhones that it is comparable even though it has less megapixels. So I would kind of say that they're both in the same boat. Maybe the iPhone 6s is a little bit better, but they're really not too far from each other, I'll be honest. So excluding my bias towards the iPhone, because I've only owned iPhones for like the last 2 or 3 years as my daily driver. I haven't had Androids as daily drivers in a while. If I were to choose one right now, if I had no phone, if I was going straight, no iMessage, no nothing, I would probably get the Galaxy S6, only because I would root it and custom ROM it. I would not personally buy a Galaxy S6 and keep it stock and use it like that. I love modifying the phone in that sense. And that's really the only reason I would buy it, because I'd be able to get much more of a phone when I custom ROM it versus keeping it stock. However, and kind of what I said there, if I wasn't comfortable rooting or custom ROMing my phone, I would probably get the iPhone 6s. And these are just on my terms of my usage of what I want out of a phone. I'm sure your usage would be different, but really these phones are super close to each other in terms of usability usability that it kind of shocks me. And I kind of like doing this Android versus iOS comparison because a lot of people say it shouldn't be done because if you like Android, go here. If you like iOS, go here. But it's kind of important to distinguish, like, okay, yeah, just because it's a different operating system doesn't mean you can't compare the two. So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it at. I'll leave links in the description for both a Galaxy S6 and an iPhone 6s, the best, cheapest price I can find. I'll leave them in the description so you guys can buy them. If you guys agree with me or disagree with me, please leave that down in the comment section below. I'm going to read your comment. I probably won't respond. I might like it. I've been starting to like a lot of comments, but yeah, I read every single comment. So leave something down there and I'll read it. Hit that like button. That'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. We are like literally days away from hitting 40,000 subscribers. And once we hit that, I'm going to do another giveaway for some iPhones. And I think you guys will like it. So stay tuned for that. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that video when it drops. Check out the links in the description as well. As I stated before, links to these phones and my websites and my second channel and my SoundCloud, all that stuff is down there. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.